this tribe is a different tribe. It's called the Tagwa tribe, and that's a chieftain staff. And they have so many ceremonies when visiting chieftains come, and they walk out in all their regalia, and they dance and they stamp their feet and they jump up, and that is the pride of the chieftain. This one on the left is called the Namwazi tribe, and it's not a staff that you could actually support yourself with. And Helen looked at it, she said, wow, that's like a real Giacometti design. But I think that's something decorative that a chief would put outside his home to proclaim his chieftaincy.
Sybil, question. I'm curious about the history, the historical record of these kinds of tapestries. Is there any dating of the very earliest examples?
You know, these tapestries are only young. They're not more than 30 years old. And it's an ongoing industry. So they're probably doing marvelous stuff. In fact, Mike, we have to go back, see what we can find. I mean, these were some of the earlier ones. Can you imagine what they could be making? They are so artistic and so energetic and so tied to Africa and the colors and the land. And if you look at all this art, there is such symmetry in it. They love that. So we have to go back. If you send me over, I'll go. I'll bring some pieces. We can support the Shangan. Would be great.
Sybil, I have an idea. Why not take a tour? Maybe some of us would like to go with you.
I think that's a great idea. We should go. Africa's a wonderful place. It's very difficult to leave, though. You know, once you get there, you'll be seduced. Won't want to come back. Incidentally, if you want to hear a bit more, I don't know, but I did write down this morning, actually, if I can find it. Hang on. Here's a map for you if you want to look. And I thought that you might be interested to know what the population is in South Africa. The black population is 79% of the population. The white population is 8.9%. This was in 2011. In 1911, the white population was 22%. So we were part of the white population that decided to leave South Africa. The Indian population, or Asian, is 2.5%, and there's another 5% that hasn't been identified. Incidentally, the Ndebele are the smallest tribe in South Africa. They're only 2% of the population, and but their language is one of the official languages. There are 11 official languages in South Africa, and Ndebele is one of the important ones.
Is that clicking sound hard to do?
No. Mark used to play the piano with Miriam Makeba, and she used to sing that famous remember? I don't know if you all know that song. She's wonderful, wonderful singer. Kim?
You remember Picasso's famous painting when African objects were exposed to that period in European art, and it's about 6 women's faces just in planes, and that's a whole interesting art period in Europe relating back to South Africa and Africa in general.
Well, you know, primitive art is so endearing and so everlasting You know, I've never wanted to get rid of one of these pieces. You know, one of the carved pieces. They have a beauty, a simplicity, and a modesty, actually. You know, that it just touches your heart.
And it's so alive. It's just, you feel like you would kill something if you broke it or hurt it in a way.
Liliana?
Sybil, do you have any idea if they keep beating some of the pieces today? Does any of the women
Well, there is a little
beating?
There is, Liliana asks, are they still beading pieces today? There's a little village in Ndebele in now Gauteng, which was Transvaal. You know, everything's changed politically, and there apparently is a village where they are doing very little beading. It's a dying art because Ndebele women need to become earners. So they travel distances, they're in the factories, and their tribal way of art has changed. I was reading something recently where some young women were criticizing the older women. They said, why are you painting these houses and still want to do beading? You know, that's old-fashioned. And this poor woman, she said, our ancestors could think that we were Sotos or even whites. You know, they want to hang on to their tradition. And this morning, funny enough, I was listening to some Ndebele poetry. You can access it on your iPad or something. They want the young people to learn those wonderful words. They don't want them to say January, February, March. They want them to use those beautiful African melodic words.
Sybil, the irony of that is that there is a renaissance of beading in America and I don't know, in Europe, of jewelry utilizing the technique of beading beads.
I know, it's
There are
so
some
popular.
very gorgeous pieces today.
I know, it's
That's
beautiful.
ironic, nobody knows.
Yeah, well, I think we do get a lot of our inspiration from what came before us. You know?
There's a lot of singing, isn't there?
They are so rhythmic and tuneful. They are wonderful singers. They dance and they're wonderful. Phyllis?
Have any of the Western major museums collected exhibitions of native art from South Africa?
Oh yes. The NFA has got a good selection. In fact, there's a woman in town here who, together with a high school friend of mine, wrote a little book called Ndebele Images. She lives right here in Boston. We want to try get her to come and talk here. And then Rizzoli Press brought out a book on Ndebele art, which I have. Anyone can come and I'll share it with you. It's a big book. It illustrates their homesteads, their designs, their beaded garments, and so on. Oh yeah, and there are ethnographic museums all over this country. That's the sad thing, is the Africans themselves, the creators, haven't got access to that. But definitely in our museums.
The Rockefellers, one of their sons was a huge collector and very much concerned with African art. And the Rockefellers created in New York, next to the museum, MoMA, Museum of Modern Art, there was the Rockefeller Museum. That is now no longer in existence, but that collection has been sort of, I think, broken up and sold to other major museums. But there was a museum funded by the Rockefellers distinctly for this art.
Okay, thank you everybody for listening.